I didn't expect my fresh start to turn into a legal war, and I definitely didn't expect to come home one day and find a stranger's mansion sitting on my land like it had always belonged there. But that's exactly where this story begins, and even now when I say it out loud, there's a part of me that still feels like I'm talking about someone else's life, not my own. After my divorce, I wasn't chasing happiness. I wasn't looking for a comeback story, a reinvention, or some inspirational second chapter people love to post about online. I was chasing quiet, real quiet, the kind that creeps up on you slowly, loosens your chest, lets your shoulders drop without you noticing. When a marriage ends after decades, you don't just lose a person, you lose the rhythm of your days. Your mornings feel wrong. Your evenings stretch too long. Even silence feels loud, like it's asking questions you're not ready to answer yet. I was in my late 50s then, tired in a deep, settled way, the kind of tired sleep doesn't fix. I'd spent my entire adult life being needed, being reliable, being the one who kept everything from falling apart. I was the guy people called when something broke, when paperwork got confusing, when a decision needed to be made. And suddenly, all of that was gone. The phone stopped ringing. The calendar emptied out. And instead of relief, what I felt was disorientation. I didn't want advice. I didn't want sympathy. I didn't want anyone asking me what I was going to do next, because honestly, I didn't know. I just knew I needed somewhere that didn't expect anything from me at all. That's how I ended up buying 5 empty acres tucked away in a forgotten corner of eastern Tennessee. Just outside a town most people only recognize because they slow down there for gas. No utilities, no mailbox, no paved road, and most importantly, no HOA. Just trees, uneven ground, a shallow creek running along the back, and silence that felt old and patient, like it had been there long before me and would stay long after. The first time I walked that land, I felt something loosen inside me. I walked it like a ritual, morning and evening. Slow, deliberate. I marked the boundaries myself, drove steel pins into the dirt, checked every corner twice. I'd spent most of my working life as a survey tech, telling other people where their world ended and someone else's began. For the first time in decades, I was measuring something that was only mine. That mattered more than I realized. It felt grounding, like staking a claim, not just on the land, but on myself. I remember standing by the creek one evening, watching water slide around stones that had probably been there longer than my entire family line, and thinking, this is it. This is enough. I didn't need more space, more money, more validation. I just needed a place where time didn't feel like it was chasing me. I started sketching ideas in a notebook. Nothing fancy, just rough pencil drawings of a small cabin, where the porch would face, where the sun would hit in the morning, where I'd sit when my knees finally told me it was time to rest. I imagined myself aging there slowly, watching seasons change, letting life move at its own pace for once. That land wasn't an investment to me. It wasn't a flip or a retirement strategy. It was an answer. My plan was modest. A small cabin, solar panels, a rain barrel, a porch with 2 chairs, and a spot to set down a mug at sunset. No gates, no signs, no one telling me what color my door should be or how tall my grass could grow. Just a place where my thoughts could finally slow down and stop tripping over each other. Then I left for 7 weeks. A short-term contract job pulled me out of state. Good money, clean work, familiar routine. I hesitated for about 5 minutes, then accepted it. I told myself it was practical, responsible. I figured the land would be there when I got back. Land doesn't change when you're gone. Trees don't get up and move. Property stays where it is, or at least, that's what I believed back then. One night, sitting on the edge of a motel bed eating food that barely qualified as dinner, my phone buzzed. It was my buddy Mark. He's the kind of guy who buys gadgets just to see what they can do. He had gotten a new drone and had been flying it all over the county like a kid with a new toy. "Hey man," his text said, "I think I caught your place by accident. Looks different." I almost didn't open the video. Something in my gut told me not to. That instinct you get right before bad news lands. But curiosity won. I hit play, and my stomach dropped so fast it felt like my body lagged behind my mind. There, right in the middle of my land, stood a house. Not a shed, not a temporary structure. A full 2-story modern build with glass railings, a paved driveway, manicured landscaping, and a pool reflecting the sunset like it was proud of itself. At first, my brain refused to accept it. I actually laughed once, out loud, like my mind was trying to protect me by pretending it was a joke. I watched the clip again, then again, waiting for my brain to correct the image, to tell me there was some explanation I hadn't seen yet. And then I noticed it, one of my boundary markers, still leaning the exact way I'd left it. Same angle, same spot. Like a signature, no one thought I'd recognize. That was the moment disbelief turned into something colder, something steadier. Something steadier. I didn't shout. I didn't call anyone. I just closed the video, packed my bag, and started driving. 8 hours on the road gives you a lot of time to think. At first, my thoughts were loud and chaotic. Anger, confusion. That hollow feeling you get when you realize someone has taken something you believed was solid. I replayed conversations in my head, tried to imagine misunderstandings, clerical errors, anything that would make this make sense. But somewhere around 3 in the morning, the noise burned off, and what was left was focus. Because if someone had done this, really done this, then paperwork existed. And paperwork always leaves fingerprints. When I reached my land, the sun was barely up. Light filtered through the trees in thin gold lines. My dirt access path was gone. In its place stood a steel gate with clean welds, a blinking keypad, security cameras angled just right, and a sign that read, Riverstone Estates, private property, no trespassing. I stood there longer than I want to admit. Not angry yet, just stunned. Like I was standing at the edge of someone else's reality that had been dropped on top of mine. Then a black SUV rolled up behind the gate. Out stepped a woman who looked like she'd never once doubted she belonged wherever she stood. Perfect hair, sharp blazer, tablet tucked under her arm like authority itself. She smiled, but it wasn't warm, it was practiced. "Can I help you?" she asked. "Yeah," I said, resting my hand on the gate. "You can open this. I'm here to check on my land." Her smile tightened just a fraction. "This property is part of Riverstone Estates Phase 3. You're trespassing." I pulled my folded deed from my jacket and held it up. She didn't even glance at it. "You'll need to take that up with zoning," she said smoothly. "This parcel was listed as unused and absorbed. The process is complete." That sentence stuck with me. Not because it made sense, but because it sounded memorized, like something she'd practiced, like something she'd said before and expected to work again. The next few days were spent in courthouse hallways that smelled like old paper and burnt coffee. File after file, maps, applications, and then the detail that made my hands go cold. A notarized signature from a man who'd been dead for 3 years. Someone hadn't made a mistake. Someone had planned this. Digging deeper only made it worse. A shell company registered barely 2 months earlier. The woman's son listed as the owner. HOA funds quietly labeled as beautification expenses that just happened to match the cost of stonework, landscaping, irrigation systems, fencing, and pool equipment on my land. That's when it really hit me. This wasn't just about property. It was about power. About people who were used to moving lines on a map and assuming no one would challenge them. People who believed confidence could replace consent and paperwork could replace truth. I didn't confront her again. I didn't raise my voice. I documented everything. I set up cameras along the tree line. Logged delivery trucks with HOA logos unloading materials onto my soil. Recorded contractors talking openly about timelines, budgets, and deadlines that had never been approved. I talked quietly with neighbors, the ones who felt uneasy but didn't want to get involved. I let them keep building while I built something quieter and far more dangerous to them apace. Weeks passed. The house grew bigger, nicer, almost obscene in how confidently it sat there. like it was daring me to stop it. Neighbors drove by slowly. Some stared. Some waved like nothing was wrong. And I started to understand something deeply uncomfortable. Most people don't question a thing as long as it looks official enough. Then one night, scrolling out of habit, I found a private real estate listing. No address. Exclusive modern retreat. Appointment only. Off market. I stared at it for a long time before I smiled. I scheduled a showing under a fake name. When the realtor arrived with a well-dressed couple, I stepped out from the trees holding my deed and introduced myself as the owner. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I just explained, calmly, exactly what they were standing on. The couple looked at the house, then at me, then at each other. They left without shaking hands. The listing vanished that night. That's when things turned ugly. Anonymous complaints, surprise inspections, code violations pulled out of thin air. A restraining order packed with accusations so exaggerated they would have been funny if they weren't serious. And then, one night, my cameras caught something worse. The woman and her son sneaking onto the property under cover of darkness, ripping out my survey markers, trying to erase the last physical proof that the land had ever been mine. Watching that footage didn't make me angry. It made everything clear. That was the moment the line got crossed for good. What had been civil turned criminal. Fraud. Evidence tampering. Misuse of funds. The sheriff didn't knock politely this time. He came with warrants, and a look that said he'd already seen enough. The court hearing was fast, brutally efficient. A judge who didn't care about titles, money, or tailored jackets reviewed the evidence piece by piece. Construction frozen. Access revoked. Occupants ordered out. And then came the part that still makes people pause when I tell it. The house stayed. When you build illegally, in bad faith, on land you don't own, the law doesn't reward you for it. The mansion. The pool. Every single arrogant square foot of it became mine. Restitution, the judge called it. I stood on that porch the first morning, after the locks were changed, coffee in hand, watching sunlight spill across the same trees I'd fallen in love with months earlier. I'd wanted a simple cabin. Instead, I inherited a monument to someone else's entitlement. Now here's the part people argue about. Some say I should sell it. Some say I should tear it down and build what I originally wanted. Some say the punishment didn't fit the crime. And sometimes, late at night when the house feels too big and too quiet, I wonder about that myself. But then I remember the gate. The smile. The way she told me the process was complete. I remember how close I came to walking away that first morning, how easy it would have been to believe her and let it go. And I remember this: land remembers who respects it. Lines matter, especially the quiet ones. So I'll leave you with this. If someone steals from you slowly, politely, with paperwork and a smile, do they deserve mercy when the truth finally catches up? Tell me what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one.